Hi guys, welcome back to Saving Salvage, and in today's video we are back again on the Audi A3 with the turbo issue. And what we're going to do is, a lot of people were mentioning it in the previous video, so I probably should have touched on it then, but we're going to check the feed supply to the turbo and also the pickup pipe and the return pipe as well. So what I've actually done, I do need to pop over to Audi this afternoon to pick up a new pickup pipe which I've ordered, and I've ordered the new diverter valve as well, so I need to pick those up. So we're going to replace the pickup pipe no matter what, and we're also just going to check the feed pipes that come from the block to the turbo and the return pipe that goes from the turbo to the block, just to make sure they are clear. So that's all it should need, everything else should be fine. So by doing that we'll have to take the sump off, which means we're going to do an engine oil change as well anyway, and then hopefully it should be fine. So that is what we're going to do today in today's video, guys. So as always, if you do like these videos and you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram, which is saving_salvage. Right, let's crack on with today's video. Also, just quickly, I've tried to do something a little bit different today. The reason the video is so long is because a lot of you guys want a bit more sort of what I'm doing. I know I put it on time lapse quite a lot, so it's probably hard to see exactly what I'm doing. The only reason I do that is just to keep the videos a bit shorter, because basically if they're too long, people just aren't going to be interested in them. So I have done something slightly different. I've gone away with time lapse and I've just sped up the video so you can see a lot better what I'm doing, even though I've still got it on fast forward, so to speak. So let me know in the comments what you guys prefer. Would you prefer this type of format, or would you prefer just the time lapse so the videos are just a bit shorter? Let me know in the comments. So just to show you what we're going to do, it should be fairly straightforward, but here is the sump, and there's just, as you can see, a series of bolts that just go around the outside of it. We just need to remove those, obviously drain the engine oil first, remove those and just pop the sump off, and then in the bottom we should be able to see the pickup pipe, which may or may not be blocked, but I'm going to replace it anyway. I've ordered one, so we'll replace that. And then also what we can see there is in there somewhere are the return pipes and the feed pipes, so I'm going to remove both of those and just make sure they're all completely clear, just so we know that the turbo is going to be getting the oil. So that's what we're going to do. So first of all, need to drain the oil. Nice and tight. So, you know. Got a little sample there, look, so I can just see if there's any metal in it. So that's the oil drain, so I'll just move this out of the way. The oil filter on this engine is also at the bottom here. It's here, look, that's the oil filter, so we will change that as well, but for the moment I'm going to leave it as it is. As I just said, sump bolts are pretty easy to get to around the outside. There are a couple of tricky ones which go in here, in these two holes here, which basically just go up between the bell housing and the bottom of the block. So they can be a bit tricky to do because they're at a slight angle, and I'm going to need a long, I think it's 5mm Allen key to get to those. They can just be a bit tricky to get out, but should be fine. So I'm going to do that now. Right, so that's all those undone. There's a couple bolts I forgot to tell you about, and they're the ones at the bottom of the gearbox. There's 3 bolts at the bottom of the gearbox that just screw into the sump in that direction. And I've also removed a screw that holds one of the intercooler pipes onto the bottom of the sump as well. So we now have everything off, so I'm hoping that I'll just be able to tap it with my old stick, and then the thing should just fall down. Get it. So it's down there somewhere. That should now just, there we go. Pop off like so. So here is the underside of the engine, obviously now with the sump removed, and this is our little pickup pipe here, look. That just goes from the sump into the oil pump, and the problem is these gauzes here, they can get clogged up and basically starve the oil pump of oil, which then starves the engine of oil. So it was, I think, about 30 quid for the part. So for the sake of 30 quid, I've ordered a new pickup pipe, which will have a completely fresh gauze in it. So we'll fit that, and then that should be no problems with pickup. And I've also removed the return pipe and the feed pipe there, look. So we're going to take those over to the bench and we're going to clean them up and make sure they're completely free of debris as well. So that should be then our supply and return to the turbo absolutely fine. So I've got my 2 pipes here. So what I'm just going to do for the feed pipe, I'm literally just going to clean it up, and I'm probably just going to put an airline through it, if I'm honest, because its tubes aren't very big. So load of pressurised air through there should do it nicely. See if anything comes out. It's going to go everywhere. Looks all right. I can feel the pressure. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I can feel that pressure coming out nicely. So that's all good. And the return pipe, to be honest, I'll probably just do, there shouldn't be any issues with this. It's a big enough pipe, so there shouldn't be any issues at all anyway, but I will just check it. I'm just going to do the same thing. Yeah, that's fine. Feel that coming out nicely. Cool, that's good. I'll just check the old banjo. That's fine as well. Nothing there. Beautiful. So they are all spot on. So feed and return pipes, bolt, banjo bolts, all completely clear. So there's no issues there at all. So I'm now just going to pop down to Audi to pick up that pickup pipe with the gauze and also the new diverter valve as well. So I should hopefully catch you back here in a couple of seconds. 44 mile per gallon round trip out the old girl. That's not too bad considering it's a bit of a spirited drive, so I'll take that. So here we go. Here we've got our 2 new parts here. We've got a new diverter valve here. And there's the old one for reference with the split in it, so we can bolt this onto the turbo just there, look, and that means we can fit the turbo. And here is our new pickup pipe as well, look, so you can see our nice clean gauze. So what we're going to do now is just remove, I've also got the O-ring as well for the pickup pipe here as well. So what we're going to do now is just remove the pickup pipe, fit the new one on, and then we can clean up the sump area, put our sump back on, and then we can fit the diverter valve onto the turbo, reinstall the turbo, and hopefully today, guys, we'll be going for a start. Right, so I've just cleaned out all the sump best I can. It was a bit grimy in the bottom of the sump, but it weren't too bad, so I've just cleaned it all out. And cleaned obviously the surface of the top of the sump as well. So now I'm just going to put a bead, a very small bead of silicone, just round the complete edges of the sump, and then I'm going to put it into position, get a couple of bolts in, and then get it sealed up. Now while I'm just waiting for the sump to settle, I'm going to just remove the oil filter. You would normally have a tool. You unscrew this cap here, which is just on the bottom of the oil filter housing, and you would normally have a tool that screws then into the bottom of the housing, and what it does is just drains through this hole here. It just drains the excess oil off into the drainer, so when you remove the filter you don't make a mess. However, I don't actually have that tool, so I do not have the luxury of doing so. So I'm going to do it the messy way, which is just to undo it and have oil everywhere. I would, if people didn't stop doing things up so tight. "25 Newton meters that's supposed to be, or no, it's supposed to be 30. It's more like 80. Too tight. There you go, it's not the end of the world. It's just messier than it needs to be. Yep, there we go. Managed to find a genuine filter that I've had for a while. And here's another example, guys. Just because it's got an Audi stamp on it, doesn't mean Audi made it. It just means that they've put the stamp on another manufacturer's filter. And in this case, as you can see there, look, it is a MAN filter. So a MAN filter for this car is a genuine filter, probably just half the price because it doesn't have that Audi stamp on it. So let us fix that. So I've got the turbo already. As you can see, I have just fitted the diverter valve, didn't show it, only 3 little bolts, so that is all in position. I've just checked everything is all good to go. So now all we need to do is put it back in, which is easier said than done. So this should be fun. If I can remember how it came out. So everything's done up, turbo's all bolted, manifolds all bolted on. Everything's on apart from the oil feed pipe, and that is because I have to prime the turbo now. So priming the turbo basically means just giving it a drop of oil before you start the engine, because obviously, as I mentioned in the other video, the turbo is pretty much the last place the oil will get to when you start the engine. So we need to give it some oil so it's got some lubrication before the oil pump finally gets to it. I don't have like a syringe or anything like that, so I'm doing it a bit of an old-fashioned way. So as you can see, there's the top of my turbo look there, and I've just got a little funnel. I've cleaned all the funnel out so it's properly clean. I'm just going to drop a little bit of oil down the funnel so it just goes into the turbo. There we go, I'm just going to stick a little bit. So I've just finished putting everything back together down here. So all the oil pipes and coolant pipe is all back on now. They're all bolted up properly. I've plugged my new diverter valve in along with the other sensor as well up there. I have just checked the intercooler, and you might not be able to see much, but it's actually pretty clean. There's no evidence of oil contamination in there really, any more than normal anyway. So I'm fairly confident that the reason this turbo failed is because lack of oil supply. So therefore, lack of oil supply means that there shouldn't be excess oil around the system, because obviously the oil wasn't getting to the system. So if I just show you the old pickup pipe quickly, I mean, just look at all that dirt in there. I mean, there's a lot of just carbon buildup, and it's not very good at all. I'm surprised any oil got through there at all. So good job that we changed it, and I'm fairly confident that is the reason that our turbo snapped in half. Right, so I've just put that intercooler pipe back on, so that is all in position. Everything else is in position as far as that I need to start the car. So all the oil feed supplies, coolant lines are all on, the coil packs, electrical is all connected. So everything is in position to enable me to start the car. Obviously I don't have my intake on. There's not enough coolant in the car, but they are things that are fine. We just want to start the car just to make sure it runs and hopefully just doesn't smoke. So I'm now just going to put some oil in because that is the last thing I need. Right, so I've just put just over 3.5 litres in, which is fine. Probably just going to be near enough half on the dipstick. So that is fine for the moment. We'll top that up once we know everything is good and the oil has gone through the oil filter housing, because obviously that will take up some oil. So I think we're good to give it a start. Checking for any oil leaks. All looks okay. There's no smoke, so that's a good start. We're already doing better than we were before. Sounds okay. I don't know when the last time this car ran, so right guys, that is it for today's video. I said I was going to get it running and we have got it running, and the good news is it is running a lot better than it did before. No smoke coming out the top of the oil filler cap, or indeed out the top of the inlet pipe, so that is a good start. It seems to be running okay. As I said a minute ago, I don't know when the last time this car was running, so I don't know if it's just a bit cold. Well, it is going to be cold, but it might need to warm up, get up to temperature. To be fair, it just might need a good thrashing just to get everything cleared out. But it does seem to be running fine at the moment, so that is good. So what I'm going to do in the next episode, guys, is there's actually a coolant pipe I broke, which is really annoying. I'll just show you. So this pipe here, part of the coolant rail that I moved out of the way, and it actually just snapped off here. I mean, it looks really brittle anyway, look. So I don't know how much it had already gone, but annoyingly, as I just moved it, it just snapped under the slightest bit of pressure, which is a bit frustrating. So I'm gonna have to order a new one of those, so I won't be able to do any more, guys, until I've replaced this, because that is part of the cooling system, and obviously I don't want to run the car up to temperature without any coolant in. So hopefully I'll get that ordered. It won't be too expensive. We'll get that on the car, and I'll finish putting the top end together. So the coolant, top the coolant up, put the heat shield back on, get the airbox back on as well, so I can plug my math sensor in. And then once that's all plugged in, we can run the engine up to temperature. Hopefully it's okay, and if that's all good, I'll go pop out, I'll buy a drive shaft kit, I'll get that drive shaft rebuilt, and then we can take it out for a road test, guys. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one, where we'll be getting my A3 Turbo on the road. Cheers, guys.